I never told anyone I was coming home early. I wanted to surprise my family after a long business trip. But the moment I opened the front door, I heard two completely different sounds. My wife was crying alone in the living room, while my son and his in-laws were laughing together in the kitchen like nothing had happened. They had no idea I was standing there. What I did next changed our family forever. After 3 exhausting weeks away on business, I decided not to call anyone before returning home. I imagined my wife smiling when she saw me. I imagined a warm family dinner and stories about everything I had missed. Instead, I walked into complete silence from the living room and loud laughter from the kitchen. My wife was sitting alone with tears running down her face. Her hands were shaking. She quickly tried to wipe away the tears. When she noticed me standing in the doorway, before I could even ask what happened, she whispered that everything was fine. I knew immediately that nothing was fine. The laughter from the kitchen continued. I slowly walked closer without making a sound. My son was sitting comfortably with his wife and her parents. They were celebrating something. Plates of food covered the table, while my wife sat alone with nothing in front of her. I listened quietly. My son was talking about selling the family house. His father-in-law laughed and said the old woman would eventually accept it because she had nowhere else to go. Everyone smiled except my daughter-in-law, who stayed silent. I felt my heart sink. That house was built by my wife and me for over 30 years. Every wall carried memories of birthdays, holidays, and sacrifices. We never imagined our own son would discuss selling it without even asking us. I walked into the kitchen. The room became completely silent. My son looked shocked. He had no idea I had returned. He forced a smile and asked why I had come home early. I ignored the question and asked why my wife was crying alone while everyone else was celebrating. Nobody answered. His father-in-law finally said they were only discussing practical family matters. I replied that family matters should never begin with disrespect. My son became defensive. He claimed they only wanted what was best for everyone. I asked him whether making his own mother cry was part of that plan. He looked away. I invited everyone into the living room. I wanted every word spoken where my wife could hear it too. Then I opened my briefcase and removed a folder. Months earlier, I had quietly updated every legal document after noticing small changes in my son's attitude. I hoped I would never need those papers. I explained calmly that the house was protected by a family trust. It could not be sold without both my wife's and my approval. I also announced that I had transferred control of my company to an independent board until retirement. No one in the family would receive ownership automatically. The smiles disappeared. My son suddenly apologized. He said there had been a misunderstanding, but apologies spoken only after losing something rarely sound sincere. My wife finally spoke. She admitted this had not happened once. While I was traveling, she had been pressured repeatedly to sign documents. Every time she refused, they treated her like a burden inside her own home. The room fell silent again. Even my daughter-in-law admitted she never agreed with the pressure, but lacked the courage to speak against her parents. I looked directly at my son and reminded him of every sacrifice his mother had made. She worked extra jobs so he could attend university. She sold her jewelry when money became tight. She never missed a school event. Yet today, she was left crying alone, while strangers laughed in her own house. He could not meet my eyes. I asked everyone except my wife and son to leave. Before closing the door, I thanked my daughter-in-law for finally telling the truth. For the next 2 hours, my son cried harder than I had ever seen. He admitted that greed and outside influence slowly changed him. He thought success gave him the right to control everything before we were even gone. I told him, trust once broken is never repaired by words alone. It is repaired through actions repeated over time. Over the following months, he visited every week without asking for money or property. He helped his mother around the house. He apologized again without expecting immediate forgiveness. Slowly, our family began healing one honest conversation at a time. That day, I did not save my house. I saved my wife from believing she had become invisible. Wealth can always be replaced. Respect cannot. The greatest inheritance parents leave behind is not property, but the values their children choose to live by. And when those values disappear, no amount of money can bring them back. If this story touched your heart, please like this video. Share it with someone who values family, and subscribe for more emotional life stories. Leave your thoughts in the comments because your voice matters.